2008. The global financial crisis was forcing airlines to cut costs anywhere they could. Delta was retiring its aging 767 fleet. United was grounding theirs. American Airlines followed. These 40-year-old planes were being sent to desert boneyards by the dozens. But in Memphis, Tennessee, FedEx and UPS were doing something that made no financial sense to anyone watching. They were buying these abandoned planes. Not one or two. Hundreds of them. Used. Old. Inefficient. They crafted a strategy that turned aviation industry rejects into the backbone of a $22 billion operation. This is the story of how FedEx and UPS built an empire on planes everyone else threw away, and why it worked against all logic. The Boeing 767 was revolutionary in the 1980s.
Introducing the American Airlines 767.
Our new plane. You know, I still can't get over all of this space.
Almost every passenger gets a window or an aisle seat, plus loads of carry-on room.
Now this is an airplane pilots dream about.
It was one of the first twin-engine, wide-body planes. Before this, long-distance flights required 3 or 4 engines. The 767 could fly transatlantic routes with just 2. This was more fuel-efficient, more reliable. Airlines loved it. Delta operated over 100 of them. United had nearly that many. American Airlines bought dozens. For 20 years, the 767 was the workhorse of international travel. But by the 2000s, newer planes arrived. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner, the Airbus A330. These planes were 20 to 30% more fuel efficient than the 767. They had better range, more modern cabins, lower maintenance costs. Passenger airlines started retiring their 767 fleets. Delta phased out its last passenger 767 in 2021. United followed. The economics didn't work anymore. When you're flying passengers, fuel efficiency matters enormously. A 1% improvement in fuel consumption saves millions of dollars per year across a fleet. So airlines replace older planes with newer, more efficient models. This is standard practice. But cargo carriers saw something different in these retired passenger planes. An opportunity. When a passenger airline retires a 767, the plane doesn't go to a scrapyard. Not immediately. These aircraft still have 15 to 20 years of usable life. The airframe is sound. The engines work. They've been maintained to strict standards. But passenger airlines don't want them because fuel costs eat into their already thin profit margins. FedEx and UPS can buy these used 767s for $15 to $25 million, sometimes less. For comparison, a new Boeing 767 freighter costs around $220 million. That's a 10-to-1 price difference. Even accounting for conversion costs, turning a passenger plane into a cargo plane costs about $30 million. So a total investment of $50 million gets you a fully functional cargo aircraft. Less than 1/4 the cost of buying new. The fuel efficiency gap still exists. A used 767 burns more fuel than a new 777 freighter. But here's the key difference. Cargo carriers aren't flying passengers. They're flying boxes. Boxes don't care about comfort. They don't care about noise. And they don't complain about older planes. The business model is entirely different. FedEx and UPS make money on volume and speed, not on fuel efficiency alone. Let's look at the math. A new 777 freighter costs $280 million. Over a 20-year lifespan, assuming standard depreciation, that's $14 million per year in capital costs alone. A used 767 that cost $50 million total has capital costs of $2.5 million per year over 20 years. Yes, the 767 burns more fuel, maybe $2 million more per year per plane, but you're still saving $10 million annually in capital costs. The fuel penalty doesn't offset the purchase price advantage. Beyond price, the 767 has specific characteristics that make it ideal for cargo operations. It's a medium-wide body. This means it can carry substantial cargo, around 52 tons, but it's not so large that it requires massive runways or specialized facilities, can operate from airports that can't handle larger planes like the 777 or 747. This matters for FedEx and UPS because their networks include secondary cities, places like Spokane, Washington, or Providence, Rhode Island. These airports have weight restrictions or runway length limitations. A 767 can serve these routes profitably. A larger plane cannot. So the 767 fills a specific operational niche. It's too big to be replaced by narrow-body planes like the 757, but it's not so large that it requires the infrastructure of a major hub. There's also parts availability. Because so many 767s were built for passenger airlines, there's a massive supply of spare parts. When passenger carriers retire planes, those aircraft get parted out. Engines, landing gear, avionics, all of it enters the used parts market. This keeps maintenance costs for cargo 767s relatively low. If FedEx needs a replacement engine, they can source it from a parted-out Delta 767 for a fraction of the cost of a new engine. The 767 also has proven reliability. It's been flying for over 40 years. Every possible mechanical issue has been identified and addressed. Maintenance crews know the plane inside and out. There are no surprises. Compare this to a newer plane where undiscovered issues can ground entire fleets. The 767 is predictable, and in cargo operations, predictability is valuable. This strategy has limits. Fuel prices fluctuate. When oil prices spike, the fuel inefficiency of older planes becomes more painful. In 2022, when jet fuel prices surged, both FedEx and UPS acknowledged that their older planes were costing more to operate. But even then, the capital cost advantage kept them in service. There's also the age factor. A plane can only fly so many cycles. A cycle is one takeoff and landing. Commercial aircraft are typically certified for 60,000 to 90,000 cycles depending on the model. 767's age, they approach these limits. Eventually, the cost of inspections and maintenance outweighs the savings from the low purchase price. FedEx and UPS are aware of this. They're not planning to fly these planes forever. Both companies are buying new freighters. FedEx has ordered 50 new 767 freighters and 37 77 freighters from Boeing. UPS has ordered dozens of new planes as well. But these new purchases are for growth and for replacing the very oldest planes in their fleets. The 30 to 35-year-old 767s will keep flying for another decade or more, because the math still works. There's also regulatory pressure. Noise regulations are getting stricter worldwide. Older engines are louder. Some airports have started restricting operations of older aircraft during certain hours. This doesn't ground the 767 yet, but it's a factor that will eventually push these planes out of service. What passenger airlines reject, cargo carriers profit from. The 767 failed to compete with modern passenger planes because ticket buyers indirectly pay for fuel costs through higher fares. But packages don't care about fuel efficiency. They care about getting from point A to point B overnight. FedEx and UPS built their empires on this principle. Buy assets cheap, operate them efficiently, maximize utilization. Against all logic, the 40-year-old 767 remains the backbone of overnight delivery. The operational strategy behind it is fascinating.